Now, with an overwhelming response to our story about 911 issues in the city of Portsmouth.
Well, as we first showed you last night, calling 911 won't necessarily get you a quick answer. We told you about complaints to the city as well as discouraging numbers on how fast calls are picked up. Tonight, some perspective from a former dispatcher and one that says it's not just a Portsmouth problem. 10 on your side's Andy Fox is following up. Andy.
Anita and Tom, her post said, instead of bashing dispatchers, why don't you look at the reason why the city can't keep dispatchers? So I called her to find out why she thinks that is.
Why did you leave?
Money.
Money is why this former dispatcher left the Portsmouth 911 call center. She saw a report, citizens calling 911, no one picking up.
I called 911 a total of 3 times. I let the phone ring at least a minute.
Low salary creates turnover. After 4 years, she left.
I took on a new job making almost $10,000 a year doing the same job, but with less stress and less workload.
I let it ring several times. I hung up, called back, let it ring several times. I hung up.
We listened to her story. Her 40-hour week turned into 60, 70 hours a week. Isn't overtime good?
I mean, it is for the money, but for the simple fact of you're burning your dispatchers out. I was losing a lot of time with my kids, and I was constantly hearing, "Oh, Mommy, you're just going back to work again, huh?" The only thing I could tell them was, "Hey, I go to work to pay the bills, and when I get time off, we'll do something together."
I called 911, and phone rang, and rang.
911 calls should be answered within 10 seconds 90% of the time. But look, in Portsmouth, most times the percent for doing that in the 60s. Here's one reason why.
2 people, I should say, are expected to answer radio transmissions while they're taking 911 phone calls, some of which are expected to answer the 911 phone call and keep radio transmissions with the fire department and the medics.
She claims city council turned a deaf ear towards dispatcher complaints.
Hey, our turnover rate is the way it is because you're not paying us.
She saw city manager Lydia Pettis-Patton say how they had hired 7 new dispatchers.
Hiring 7 dispatchers, your turnover rate is normally 50 to 75%. So you may, a year down the road, still have 2, maybe 3.
Patton says a new non-emergency 311 line will be set up to ease calls to 911 by the end of May.
I was surprised to hear that because my first comment on that one was, how are you going to implement a 311 call center if you can't even keep your 911 call center staffed?
Well, Patton says part-time workers will answer the 311 calls. The former dispatcher, very skeptical of that. By the way, when she left Portsmouth after 4 years, she was making $28,000. She argues that's why there's unhealthy turnover in Portsmouth 911. I'm Andy Fox, 10 on your side.